Welcome back. It's still TV3 New Day, and it's time for the Woman Factor. Remember that we have this segment every Monday right here on TV3 New Day, where we speak to female politicians to tell us what the ride has been like and whether there's any hope for more women to, of course, get into politics and do as well as they are doing. And today, we have a very special guest. She's the Minister of Communications and also the MP for Ablekuma West Constituency. And she is Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekuful. And of course, she's been a lawyer for many years, but also is described as a women's rights activist and is doing so much for a lot of women and, of course, children in the community. And today we get to speak to her to find out what her journey has been like. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
It's a pleasure to see you.
I can imagine how tiring it's been having to campaign not only for yourself, but for the party to also, you know, get another 4 years in power. Tell me about this.
It's exciting. It's fun. I love the interaction with the ordinary people we meet on the beat, so to speak. And it gives you a chance to also get some very good feedback. But it's tiring.
I can
because
imagine.
It's like you're burning the candle at both ends. And in the midst of all that, you have to keep an eye on the office as well. So it hasn't been easy. I'm glad Parliament is on recess now, because then you had to juggle 3 balls in the air. And that was challenging. But I love it. And I especially love the kids. They don't vote. But every time you step out, they just follow you everywhere you go, giving you hugs, holding your hands. And I keep saying that if children voted, I wouldn't have any problem at all.
I can imagine, but of course with the women as well, because you're women's rights activists, usually when you interact with them, what do they tell you? Because I remember quite recently that, you know, you gave some financial support to fishmongers in Ablekuma West, and they kept complaining about the lack of financial facilities for them, unlike the men who get subsidies in fuel, motorboats and all of that. So what usually comes up when you interact with these women, and how are you hoping to fix some of these problems?
It's as if the female occupations, the jobs that the majority of women do, don't get much mainstream attention. So unless you specially target them, then they're falling through the cracks. And that's why we set up MASLOC. And I wrote the MPP manifesto portion on gender and women in social development in the 2016 manifesto. And we specifically put it in that 50% of all MASLOC loans should go to women and women businesses. And I believe that they've tried to live up to it. But of course, it's not enough. And you have huge numbers of women needing some very small support to do petty trading and to put in their small businesses. Some as low as 2,200,000 cedis. And for them, it's enough to start a business on their own. And so on our own, we've tried to meet some of those needs to supplement what government is doing. But then the feedback from what they're able to do with that means that once they get their own business going, they can support their home. And many of them are also single mothers. And so by extension, their children are better taken care of once they have a livelihood. And it reduces the stresses in their home with their partners as well. If the chop money isn't coming, the challenges that brings. So I keep telling the people in my constituency that I make no apologies about being biased in favor of women. And they must understand, because when women have peace of mind, then the men will also have peace in their homes. So it's a win-win for everybody. So we try as much as we can to provide some limited targeted support for women. Now, with interventions that the government has put in place, particularly free senior high school, it's taken a huge burden off women, because it was their responsibility, more or less, once they're single mothers, to ensure that their children had an education. Now they can rest easy knowing that so long as their children do well in school, they would get the support of the government to continue their education. So for them, that's a huge burden off. But there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. Absolutely.
Not to digress from the discussion about women, we'll come back to it, but since you touched on free SHS, the question then would be that, is it more about women not having to pay school fees for their children to go to school just so we can have the numbers in the school and grant access, or is it about quality of education? Because that also has come under some controversy, with many people saying that, well, we have all these students in school, but can we say same for the quality of education that they are receiving in these schools?
I think this year's WASSCE results should put paid to that discussion. People were concerned that because of expanded access, there would be some impact on the quality of education that they receive. But the results of this year's WASSCE examination indicate that for the past 6 years, this is the best performance that the children have exhibited in their exams. So a lot more children have had access to education, and more of them have also excelled in their exams, giving them the opportunity to move up to the next stage. So it is clear that the measures that the government put in place focused on expanding access and on quality of instruction. Now, one of the things that we kept saying was that the contact hours had increased, even though we were having this double track system. The children were spending more time with their teachers and getting more instruction under the system than they ever had. Obviously, that has also translated into them getting better prepared for their terminal exams, and they have done exceedingly well. So I can only congratulate them on their performance and wish them well in their exams. And for the skeptics, and you can understand that it was out of genuine concern that some people were raising these issues, because the children's future depend on the kind of foundation we give them at this stage. But they've proven the measures that have put in place right. And I think that we can only encourage the Ministry of Education to continue, and the Ghana Education Service to continue along this path and put in place measures. The teachers have also gotten better prepared for the work that they're doing. The children have been given free textbooks. It's never happened before. So every aspect of the educational chain was improved in these last 4 years. And it has translated into the better results that we're seeing. Of course, there's always room for improvement. Yes.
Still on the issue of free SHS, so quite recently at the CIMG Awards, there was an educationist who touched on the need to digitize the entire educational sector, so that instead of one party saying that we're going to expand infrastructure, the other party saying that we're looking at involving the private senior high schools and all of that, we look for a way to digitize education such that if we're granting access, we can also increase quality by making sure that even if I'm not in a school building, I can still get access to my computer and study. That way we would make progress much more than expanding infrastructure and all of that. What do you have to say?
We're working on all of that as well. Now, at the tertiary level, we recognize that because of the numbers of qualified entrants into the tertiary institutions, they would have a challenge. They wouldn't have all the physical infrastructure to be able to accommodate them. So we're working with the Ministry of Education to set up a learning management system for all public universities to be able to provide distance and blended learning. I just learned a new term. Blended learning, virtual and actual. A bit of both. So that they would have the platform on which to be able to deliver that. And we can even have the Open University of the UK also delivering courses on that same platform. And they can use that same platform to also deliver a common curriculum and common content across board. So we're working on that. We've improved the network. There's free Wi-Fi on the campuses. They've always had internet access there, but we've improved the network. There's this Ghana Academic Research Network, which the Ministry of Communications is supporting to provide high-speed internet access for research purposes for all their membership, which is all the lecturers and researchers in the tertiary institutions. So we're layering on that platform to do this learning management system in the secondary schools as well, senior high schools as well. We're just about completing the free Wi-Fi for all schools. And so the network there is also being improved to enable them to deliver cached content.
Okay.
So that we're moving towards notebooks, textbooks, to delivering content on devices,
yes.
to all students. And we're working on that. That's why we keep saying for more to do more. We know what we're planning, and we know what we have in store.
Okay.
But all these conversations and plans are currently ongoing as we speak. There's this SENDLOS. I forget what the full, it's an acronym, but I forget what the full meaning is, which is within the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service, which is looking at online content for schools. And they have some very interesting stuff that they're working on. Now, the Ministry of Education is even working towards setting up an educational technology unit, which will look specifically at the digital content and infrastructure that will be delivered, working closely with the Ministry of Communications, which is in charge of digitization generally. So we're far advanced on all those conversations.
All right.
And very soon, just watch the space. We'll have a lot more.
That's if the NPP wins power. In
view of the work that we have done, I think that the Ghanaian people will return us to power. And we've started putting in place some very far-reaching foundations which will transform the way we live and work and study and trade in this country.
What would some of these, things be?
We're talking about digitization. You need that infrastructure on which all these services would ride. Without the basic telecoms data availability across the country, it will be difficult to sustain these programs going forward. In the big cities, they have fairly robust networks in place. What about the rural areas? And so we've just started a rural telephony and digital inclusion project, which is connecting over 3 million people around the country in very small rural communities, unserved or underserved, to high-speed voice and data networks, which will enable everybody living anywhere in this country to have access to all the digital services that we're putting in place, to trade, to study, for e-health, for e-governance. It will bring government closer to the people, and digital financial services, you name it. All of that is going to be layered on that platform.
But would you say that women have played very critical roles in the Ekuful government? I mean, if we have to count the number of female ministers, we don't have that many. And we're also promised that we're going to get a greater number of women representing in the NPP government. We have very few of those as well. So the conversation has come up almost always that we still do not have enough women occupying key positions in government. Have women played that critical role?
Absolutely. Now, if you look, I'm the first female communications minister. We have the first female chief of staff. Hajia Lima, I believe, is the first female local government minister. We've chalked a few first. But as always, it's not enough. And I agree with you there, we can always do better. But the performance of the women in leadership should give anybody comfort that when we're giving a task and a duty to perform, we deliver. And so if people think that we're shortchanging ourselves by putting women in decision making, I think the output of women in government in decision making, in business, across all sectors should satisfy the Ghanaian people that we're very, very capable and of delivering on any portfolio that you entrust into our hands. But like men, some will make mistakes. My beef is that we're held to a higher standard than the men in similar positions. And our society cuts men more slack than they do women. And so it's as if we always have to justify the positions that we occupy. But through a millennia of experience, it's built into our genes to focus on getting the job done, despite the distractions. And we multitask, so we can take care of multiple issues at the same time and still keep a smile on our face, despite the challenges and the stresses that we're under. And I think God created us uniquely to be able to absorb a lot more stress than the men do.
That's true.
Absolutely. They think that we're the weaker sex, but we're not as weak as they assume. And they do feel a little threatened by our performance in whichever position we find ourselves in. But I just want to assure everybody that they should see women as equal partners in the development of our country.
Okay.
Partners. We're not competing with them. We want to collaborate with them to develop our country. Kofi Annan, may so rest in peace, said something many years ago that women are the right hand of society, and society seems to have tied its right hand behind its back. You know, if we're the right hand and society largely is right-handed, and we tie our right hands behind our back, we disable ourselves from developing at a faster rate than we would have if we freed women to also do their bit to support our men in all sectors of the economy.
Okay. But the question then would be that are women also availing themselves enough to be able to occupy these positions?
You have to have a very thick skin. And I keep encouraging women that, like the Akan adage goes, yenimwa etosi. If we're not included in the equation, there is a lack.
Okay.
So no matter what challenges they are, grit your teeth and bear it. Society needs us more than they recognize. And I also say that we should just imagine the scenario where for 1 week, all women withdraw all services from bedroom to boardroom.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. No woman will do any work at all from the bedroom to the boardroom, in the home to the workplace, those selling by the street side. Would society survive?
Yeah.
No. Nothing would happen. Just imagine that scenario. And that's why I say that yenimwa etosi. So the work we do is taken for granted. People assume that, when you go out there to buy your wache, it will be available.
Yeah.
Do you know how early that woman has to get up to get the food ready so that you can get it to eat at 6 a.m.? Or the kenke, or the cocoa, or whatever. And the challenges they have to go through. We don't, but we take all that for granted. So for us women, we should realize that the world needs us. The world may not recognize that, but they need us. And so let's just stick with it. But increasingly, the realization is dawning on society of how pivotal the role women have been performing across the ages, and how truly indispensable we are. And so gradually, the space is opening up for us to deliver more and more services.
Would you say that women like you have paved the way in terms of having to develop a thick skin so you can still remain relevant in the roles that you play in governance?
Generations of women paved the way for us to get where we are. It's incumbent on us to also make life a little easier for the generation afterwards. Unfortunately, for a woman in decision making, you're carrying the weight of your gender and your sex on your shoulders, and all women will be judged by your performance. If a man goofs, it's an individual who's goofs. Who's goofed. If a woman goofs, it's all women. And so we carry that weight on our shoulders as well, and it puts an added burden on us. But I think that that's why once you recognize that it's not just about you, it's about your entire gender, your entire sex, you need to also be mindful of the way you act, talk, and
but that's
work.
the thing. We don't tell men to be mindful of the way they act or think in public and all of that, but we tell women that. Is that not in itself a way of preventing women from taking up those positions? Because
but that's what I meant by saying that whatever you do, it's all women who are judged based on your performance. When a man fails, it is one man who's failed. When a woman fails, we said women could not perform. It will change, but it will take time. So for all of us, it's incumbent on us to also widen the space and make life easier for the next generation
yeah.
of women to also move it a bit further and make it easier for others.
Shortly.
I see us as the thin edge of the wedge. You know, it bears the brunt and the force of whatever pressure is being applied. But once it gets through, the wedge is wide. And so it makes space for a lot more women to get in.
Shortly, we'll go to your constituency and interact with some of your constituents. But I quickly just want to ask this question. For you as a communications minister, of course, with a number of good things that you've done, it's also been bedeviled with some challenges and some controversies. What would you say has been the most challenging task that you've had to undertake in your, ministry? And if you had the chance, you probably would have corrected some mistakes you made.
Probably in my failure, inability to communicate the reasons behind some of the initiatives that we started undertaking very early on. And I'll give an example, this common platform. When we came, we met a scenario where government was paying a lot of money to various service providers and not getting much in return. So after reviewing all the evidence, we looked at the law, which empowered the Minister for Communications and Finance to set up a common platform for revenue assurance in the communications sector, and decided that we would do that. So in collaboration with the Minister for Finance, we engaged Kelny GVG to put in place this common platform. A lot of noise and talk went about it, and they failed to listen to the reasons behind it. We've made a lot of cost savings in that. Nobody's talking about that. We're delivering 4 services in place of 1 for a saving of about $1.1 million every month, even by signing the contract alone. And over time, we've seen an increase in the revenue that has been generated in this sector because gradually the telcos have been compliant with the law, whereas they weren't in the past. So a few things have been done in this sector. And I think that if I had the chance, I would better articulate and be more proactive in explaining the rationale behind it. But once people have made up their minds that they want to demonize a certain project, no matter what you say, they don't hear it.
But there was an opportunity to go to Parliament at a point to explain it to them because, the parliamentarians had asked that you come into Parliament, and then eventually the majority minister said he could not locate you. And that sort of angered them a little bit.
That's 2 different things. I did go to Parliament on the common platform, and I think it was on something else that he said he couldn't locate. I was supposed to be in Parliament.
Was it not to explain the Kelny GBG issue? No,
I'd done that already. I think it was on the results that we presented to the public. We had already done an assessment of about a year of the operations of the common platform. And we were already billed to go to Parliament on that. But it was the date on which we were supposed to come. When they communicated the date to us, I was not available. And they couldn't reach me to reschedule it. But subsequently, I was in the house. Oh, absolutely. There's no way we would. I mean, if you have a good story to tell, and people think that there's an issue here when you know there isn't, I'd always seize the opportunity to clarify the issues. And I think after that, I haven't had any other questions thrown at me since then. The similar thing arose with the digital property address system, and there was a whole lot of talk about it in the initial stages. But once people saw how very useful that tool was and what a cost saving it is, and how it also empowered Ghanaian applications and software developers to also own the space. And let me put it out there. The National ID project, the digital address system, the Ghana.gov payments and services platform for all government applications and services. They are all developed by Ghanaians. Yes. Even the common platform has a significant Ghanaian component in it. So we've been trying consciously to create the space to an opportunity for Ghanaian applications and software developers to also develop world-class applications which have local appeal but have world-class prospects as well. And in all of this, we've been successful in that. And they've also received international acclaim. Almost all of them have received recognition internationally for the applications that they've been developed. So that's something that I'm particularly proud of and think that we ought to continue.
All right. Well, let's move now to the Ablekuma West constituency, where our correspondent Armstrong Alogbe was there to interact. Yes, with some of the constituents. Let's see what they had to say.
This is the Ablekuma West constituency, and it's 14 days to election. Currently, I'm at the Dansuma market, and let's talk to some of the electorate and find out whether they are going to maintain the incumbent member of parliament, Owusu-Ekuful, or change her for either the NDC, PPP, CPP, and any other of the political parties. Well, let's do this. This seat has been for the MPP since its inception, and this year, let's see if MPP is still going to continue ruling here. Daddy, okay, so you are in the market very early. Tell me, do you live in this constituency?
Yes, I live. I live down the road there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you vote?
I vote at Ablekuma West.
You vote in Ablekuma West. So tell me, we have some 14 days to election. How is it going to be like? Are you going to maintain the city member of parliament, or you are going to vote against?
I will maintain her. Yes. We want Nana to go and continue the good work she's doing. And Nana cannot go alone. We have to. He has to go with the MP to do the work. We have brought the assistant MP, so we have to vote for her.
What has she done? One may ask, what has she done that you want to maintain her?
Look, we send him to parliament, and he's been doing very well with the ministry. You see, and the roads also in the area, I think he's working on them.
Okay.
Yeah. So far as he's working for the constituency and for the government, we need to maintain her.
So you are maintaining Owusu.
Yes.
So that is what he thinks and believes. He is voting for Owusu because of the good work he, according to him, believes Ursula is doing here. Let's talk to more people now. And then, madam, I got market woman here.
I'm a market here.
Who market here? Now, who about market here? Who
about my West here?
Sir?
About swag club.
Yeah, Abania Tuna saying.
Saka 14 days near the co. Kotua papa, ye person nanado or twasso. A new mapa obey no twasso. Said our boy, I might have light more 4 years, ye nurse. I must say, free education, the buy a buoni pabe bray because of one memory no cry we school nephew.
Yankan constituency, I say,
as slow as or twasso because I am a bray. Quite be the day down all copper blows why ye was police post was CB was Shiabu Senate why park you or mobile basketball why ye near my baby then I hold debate me why into our slow or Satuaso and my on another million echo into a drew 7th December number 1 Yakoto Abani boom for my slow and in another.
So that is what she also believes. So it looks like the market too many. Let me talk to you too, madam. Also, what about Chroma?
True about Ablekuma West.
You call MPP, NDC, CPP, and I say you call emphasize.
Maybe I'm MPP. Me MPP ni. Na hwe nyuma pa na nakufo do ba waye. Ena efa ya ma me yeslo so won pesues. Wa ne ma bebre loan kitenkete odi amankofo ne ade 2012 se oba no ni abem. Ebusura no mo cassette ya na ntesa 4 years no ba abem ni. Adwuma oba no ano ayo hwa kwan a waye ne ma police station ko grife ni ade obi police station ni ade wo de ba your friend was saying snitch e ho say ukwohwe we basket we pa wa biama boys na am chese ya nika nti sa ma me do no an ye de ne be kosle Owusu-Ekuful
why be wrong
why be pa do be ya no why
no
onto aso.
Okay, so that's what she's all saying. They are all saying the same thing. They say that according to them, the MP has done so much for them. I'll talk to more people now. Madam, now, Jose.
dia menuanom no kae no eno ano no ya maame Oslo or toaso fi say 8 years 4 years e be say ko no ni aban mu and so try say oye ne mama yen bi ne e manage kura ne say sesi anka nya emre na ye yi a say o si hospital kura ma yen
o si hospital no way
o si wo kit cat a oguso wa maso anyankopon ya atom na so san ba bi wa obesan ye obesan atoa so ama yen ye kwan de da se wanyina ensuo fa nkrofo grefe ensuo fa nkrofo enso bridge no one MC na kabom wo mu ye wo mu guso ye nti osoro busu de oguso ye nema pa nti ono na ye beto ama no one nana se na nana ye no ye ntimi nkasa na nanko no no nkanti ono ye toa no so ono so be ye atwuma no pepepe ai
but jina ya menko bia madam let me talk to you too mama no so nkasa ba wo menko bia wo de jina ya mama bra beme na osidai
me pa cho me so me to about kit kat na me de nanado ye beto abama no ni asama ato amosla wo se fi say me nsen ahiafo ma bebre anya squad o ma loan ama ebi de ye adwuma wasama omu a ompese omusun adwuma odi bi asun adwuma eti hairdresser eti bo ade pam bibia na nsen kra wa bebre machines any dryers enti maame no one na na oma yard 4 years e be san to abama se me pese me nso me ba ma to ama nkrofos pese me nso me ba ko free education bi nti ono na meto ama
ono no beto ama no maame no bi nkasa wo kan na obi say wo twantro maame san pa ne say boss
yes senior.
Do you want to speak English or Chi?
Yeah, they mix everything.
Let's mix everything. So, but you were trying to object to what she was saying.
Yeah, I'm telling them, say, make we take God.
Come here.
Make we take God and work. Make we talk the truth.
So, what is the truth?
The truth,
Come here. Yeah.
they are lying. That matter they are talking about roads. You know this, how do they call it? Back here, no. Only this main road.
You vote in this constituency?
I vote here.
Okay, so you are saying they are lying. Let's be practical.
For what matter, my brother, is not sustainable at anywhere. Only one places. And they are talking about what again?
They spoke about the hospital that the MP is putting together.
Since when Ursula is MP at Dansoma? Going out since 2008, am I lying? That hospital, now no one that start that hospital. Where is the work as she doing? And they are lying that they complete that hospital. Is it true?
Madam Batobra. Madam Bra.
Hold on. I stand on the truth.
Madam, I say, Namuka and say, Ursula, hospital, what's that?
Me pa cho no crapa say. Ubekono enye do lentil. Even fitter for be crowd or why a person will free or not hospital no. Na menu an or can be say Ursula buy no 2008 no buy or buy no ubeje this time or buy no
Manika say
or buy no
boss Mr. Train Manika say
na oni abemu sa time no na NDC in there NDC na ho nti na oni access o wa obetime de oba ye no wa ya de baby baby no oka no wo baby ofi nti na okasasa no wo ko baby ma pamlos no wa gota no wa twa line nyina ye fine se se oba ye enhye da 4 years ye oba ye on hye da anya hwe wo beach road wo gota wo ye wo osa wa ya
boss almost say na oka no mo say wo so twa almost say
you see moto make me pay after this line after fire service after this line going down there my brother the road is a Bismarck since 12 good years. What is going on?
Okay daddy come daddy I say
yes. Oh, boss, a quantity why bridge me kai. Why you quite? Why you ma? Why you quite?
okay
talk to come on to when you NDC ni when you NPP ni when you share
do you have vote?
I have vote. I can show you now.
Question.
Okay.
Question.
is my speech. I say, I'm not NDC. I'm not MPP. I'm what? Patriotic.
Wait. Let's speak your color. You are speaking because of your color.
I'm not speaking because of color.
Let's pick the issues one by one. Let's pick the issues one by one. Wait. Come, don't go. Change.
I tell you now, we're going to tell you why. When I would do it,
So this is the Ablekuma West constituency, and of course the debate is still ongoing whether to retain or vote against the city member of parliament December 7th will tell. But debating here and you're not showing up at the police station to vote will mean nothing. So just make it a must to go to the polling station come December 7th to vote for your favorites, parliamentary and presidential candidates. Joseph Armstrong, Gold, TV3, Ablekuma West constituency.
I mean, what do you have to say about this interaction and the fact that the other guy says you haven't done much?
You can't win them all. But it's very gratifying to know that at least 5 out of the people interviewed said they would vote for me, and only one said they were not satisfied with my performance. So on the balance, I think we're not doing badly, and I'll take it like that. But you meet people like, and there we have some pretty bad roads still, so I can understand his anger. We're working on it.
Okay.
And I keep telling them that we can't fix everything in 4 years. We'll have to start from somewhere and then keep at it gradually. But the good thing is we've already done 25 kilometers of asphalt overlay.
Okay.
And we're in the process of doing another 10 kilometers. The contractor is currently on the road around the Shiabu area. And those roads would last long. At least we've preserved them for the next 10 years. Then we can tackle the other areas which are also pretty bad. I mean, the road behind the market, the Swag area, the Commando area is pretty bad.
Okay.
And there are quite some areas to Owusu-Ekuful and stuff like that. There's some pretty bad roads, but 4 more to do more.
But I mean, another party can come to government and continue, and that's the worry for a lot of Ghanaians, that we don't have a national development plan. And so really, one party comes and starts a project, probably gets voted out after 4 years, and then another party comes and says that we're not too happy with some of the contractual agreements, so we'll pause with this one and start another one. But if really we had that development plan, then we won't have to worry about who comes into power, because we'll still have the project ongoing.
We've had development plans. I believe that Nimoy Thompson did a 40-year development plan, realistic or no. It is not the development plans that will determine whether the succeeding governments will continue with projects undertaken by previous governments. Even our constitution enjoins us to. I think it's the attitude of the government that we need to inculcate in them, that it is not about your government being in power doing a project. We, the MPP, has continued with many projects that were started by the NDC, and they turn around and say that we've done nothing, So it is that kind of rhetoric which says, okay, then I'll leave yours and start my own, so that I can also point to the fact that I started and completed that. But it is taxpayers' money, and all these uncompleted projects dotted around the country are wasteful. So it's incumbent on all governments to continue with projects that are ongoing. But the danger with that, and that's why I keep telling them that they're better off retaining the incumbent government in power than changing it. It would take about a year for any new government to understand the ongoing issues on the desk of the various ministries, departments, and agencies. That's time wasted. Now, after that, then they have to also look for the resources and that to either start or continue with whatever projects where they've contemplated. If you retain the incumbent government, we're just continuing with ongoing activities. And we're not now going to learn or read about what has been done and find out who was in charge of what and what stage it's reached and all that. it makes sense. And yes, it will inure to my benefit as the incumbent government if they listen to that argument. But it's logical, it makes sense. I'm in the ministry, I understand the portfolio, I know where all the bones are buried, I know what is happening in there, I know who is doing what, I know which stages our interactions and advocacy have reached. So it's just a matter of continuing with it. Even in the constituency, there's still ongoing work, planned work that we intend to do. If I am changed, I go with all my ideas. Whoever comes now has to start from scratch.
But that's the problem.
Aha. So don't change me. Keep me.
No, but then that would also not be fair, because then one party sits on for a very long time. And who knows, what if they get complacent and now realize that, okay, we're never going to be changed because people believe that once we started a project, they would want us to finish it. So we're going to stall some of these projects so they keep voting for us to remain in power.
But my argument is that we vote for development and progress. And if you're getting that, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Are we getting progress?
5 out of 1, 5 out of 6.
But that's not a fair assessment. There's so many other people. Who knows, if we had interacted with more people.
He went to the marketplace. You know, I'm not saying that that's a conclusive indication of how the elections will turn out. No. But you talk to the majority of people there. I won the elections with over 13,000 margin the last time. I intend to hold on to that margin and add on to it.
Okay.
You know, and it's incumbent on who my challenger is to overturn that margin and beat me. And in Ablekuma West, it's going to be a tall order because we have worked.
Okay.
And the evidence is there for everyone to see.
The NDC doesn't stand a chance?
Not in my constituency.
Okay.
And I'm saying that with a straight face. And they know it.
Because you have worked?
Absolutely. And the people will tell you, we voted for development. Now, even those who haven't yet had it in their areas, you tell them that it's on its way. You have seen evidence that work is being done. And so just be patient. We'll get there. Of course, you can't solve every problem at a go. It's not humanly possible. So you have to start from somewhere and get there. The Dansoman post office, our roads, we've got a new municipality, we've got 2 new police stations in place. We're building the maternity wing for the Dansoman Polyclinic. We're getting a municipal hospital. Educational infrastructure is ongoing. Assistance to our students and teachers has been ongoing even when I was in an opposition MP. The security services have seen significant improvement in the enhancement in the operations. The street lighting is ongoing. You name it.
Well,
I've done a hell of a lot of work in the constituency.
I have a message here that says, ask her, the Dansoman roads are terrible. And it's a basketball court that she built at Snit Flats. The road from Keep Fit down to Exhibition is horrible. And some streets like mine had to contribute, contribute money to fix our roads. This is after her shambolic floating bridge.
Keep Fit down to Exhibition. That's the Western Link Road. It's currently under construction. It was in an even worse state before the contractor got onto it. It's obvious where he's coming from, you know. But that particular road from Capital O2 all the way to Ebenezer is currently under construction. The contractor is now coming back to put the final coating on it. But the underlaying, there's heaps of sand currently on the road. He doesn't want to see. Culverts have been fixed. And even now, because it's in such motorable state, the residents have had to do a makeshift speed ramps on that road, right from Capital O2 to the Action Chapel area. They've done makeshift speed ramps on it because they say there's a lot of dust on it and drivers are overspeeding. It's because it's in much better shape now than it was a year ago.
But if it is,
and
why
we're not done yet. Well, there's some people who never see anything good about any work. You see, he's talking about
the floating bridge.
The floating bridge, yes. That was a temporary bridge, and we intend to build, and it's even there on the border between 2 constituencies. So it was out of the goodness of my heart that we decided to put that temporary structure in place to alleviate the suffering of the people. And it was destroyed. But be that as it may, when we launched that bridge, we told the residents there, and the tape is there. That is a temporary bridge. We intend to connect the old Winnable Road, which was truncated by that gutter, and which separate that canal, which separated Choko from Shiabu. So we're going to put in place a bridge and pedestrian walkway over that, so that cars can even use that bridge. On our side, we've done the asphalt up to the edge of the Chimwena. And since Ablekuma South is not in my jurisdiction, at least on our side, we're ready.
Okay.
Contract has been signed. It is being varied at the moment, because if you look there too, they've dumped a lot of refuse there. So solid ground on which to even put the footings for the bridge was challenging.
Okay.
So they're varying it, but that work is going to be done. So he should just watch this space. Give me 4 more years. And because of the noise they made about it, when that bridge is constructed, it will be called the Esla Bridge.
Okay. You make that decision as to what it is called?
The assembly will make that decision.
And you're going
the
to make
assembly
sure
has
that they'll
decided.
name it after you?
The municipal assembly has decided. The amount of grief that I have suffered for it, I think is the least they can do.
To name the bridge after you. I see. But there's also another concerned viewer who says, what does Ursula think about the lady whose response to another opposition was Krum?
Who was that?
Well, in the video, you know the woman who was responding to the man at the market when Armstrong was interacting with them. She said Krum.
Na ono ni Krum ni
Yeni
baby.
baby are free into Krum.
Ono mami no kasa ni Krum ni baby.
But
I
she's
really
speaking
missed
for you.
that. No, but the point is, we need to understand that our country is made up of all shades of opinion, and that's what makes us unique, and that's what's beautiful about it's like a tapestry, various fabrics, designs, and all that and come together to give us a beautiful cloth. We need everybody. I'll just dismiss it as light-hearted banter. I don't think that it was in any serious thing. I mean, it's like Ozi Onyeshi, so she in her defense will throw that out. Let's not harbor belabor the issues that divide us. Let's focus on what unites us. And you can't get everybody. We're not robots. You would have differences of opinion. But let's agree to disagree and be civil about that. Sometimes when I listen to the discourse on our various platforms, it saddens me that we're tearing each other apart as if we're enemies. We're not.
Whose fault is it? The politicians?
All of us. It is not just the politician, it is all of us. Listen to the discourse on social media. Is it only politicians out there? It's the ordinary people. But it is up to us to realize that we have one Ghana. And I've said this over and over and over again. What binds us together is much, much stronger than what divides us. So let's focus on our commonalities and build bridges instead of tearing each other apart. And let's learn to be more accommodating. We make issues out of nothing. This is a light-hearted comment, but somebody has picked it up and is going to run with it.
But if that's the
Let's
case,
not lose our sense of humor in all of this, and our humanity as well. You know,
what do you make of the conduct of the MP for the Dododio constituency after that, issue ensued in that constituency quite recently?
Which one?
Quite recently, when we saw the gunshots, and of course we saw the NDC people accusing the MPP of attacking them when they embarked on a health walk or a peace walk or something like that. It was just about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
But that's not true. The MPP didn't attack the NDC when they were going on a peace walk. We all saw the footage. They went and vandalized the MPP office.
Because they said they were attacked first.
Why didn't you deal with it? What has the office got to do with it?
But what do you make of the MPs, the MP of the area and the parliamentary candidates of the area, all saying that, well, if the police or the security do not put in measures to ensure that peace is, made available in that constituency, they were going to take the law into their own hands?
You know, when it comes to Odododio, I've been a victim of violence unleashed on me in that constituency. I find it very, very hypocritical of Ni Lante Vanderpoel.
Okay.
Some of the comments he makes. He hired thugs to assault me in that constituency.
How sure are you that he hired
I know he's admitted that. He sent emissaries to come and apologize to me when we got back to Parliament. For 3 years, he sent people after me to admit that what he did was wrong and to apologize to me.
Why did he send
thugs? I get emotional, and I've tried to move beyond that, because what I told him was that he was my mate in Legon. If I had died, he would have shown up at my funeral shedding crocodile tears, knowing that he was responsible for my death. All this political violence we unleash on ourselves is completely unnecessary. Elections are just a contest of ideas. So if you think it is okay to sponsor thugs to attack your political opponent, and somebody pays you back in your own coin, then you go and scream.
Is that okay? I mean, recently he also said that he was attacked in front of the police station.
A lot of people wanted me to comment on that. I refused.
Why?
It's not necessary. When it is done to me, it is wrong. When it is done to him, it is wrong. But when he was the perpetrator in my case, and he squeals, then it is extremely hypocritical. But I will say that enough is enough. Let's move beyond this violence that we're unleashing on ourselves in politics. I go around and I sit with my political opponents and we judge. Sometimes at the end of the day, they'll say, oh, I've been able to convince them, so they'll vote for me. At that time, they'll say, Madam, can be I am Toma. I said, okay, and you win some, you lose some. Yeah. Why do we think it is acceptable to use violence in our politicking? But trust me, and I went back to the next day, and I told them that if I'm attacked, I'll defend myself. And I have every right to do that.
So is it right then for Neil Antibanaman to have said that if the security does not beef up security in the constituency, then they would have no choice than to take the law into their own hands?
It is incumbent on all of us to allow the security services to do their work. If we all arm ourselves, the security is caught in the middle. And we've seen this over and over and over again. We're beginning to sound like a broken record. Don't attack me. Then I won't have to defend myself. Let's allow the security agencies to do their work. They know where the flashpoints are. But we make it difficult for them to work and hide behind our political parties to do all kinds of unmentionable things to each other. It is wrong. It's unacceptable. I say this election, let's all agree to abide by the rules. There will be only one victor. It will be the MPP. I say the NDC can go and drink all the water in the sea. They won't win this election.
What if they win?
They won't.
How sure are you?
I am confident because of the work that we have done.
Was it wrong?
However,
in
the most unlikely event that they win, it is not going to happen. That would have been the choice of the electorate. Life will go on. It will not be the end of the world. Let's not do politics as if it's a be-all and end-all. For me, it's not. I've spent 8 years in opposition. I survived. 4 years in government. I'm surviving. Win or lose, we will survive. But we are winning. This one, we are winning.
My director is counting me down, but I'm going to beg you on air to give me just 1 more minute to ask. Quick question. So this morning, we've been having a conversation about the Electoral Commission releasing the list of 15 million voters, and a lot of people are concerned about their private information being out there, open to anybody, and the fact that fraudsters could take advantage of that and use their details to perpetrate fraud. You are the Minister of Communications. This clearly also is a concern for your ministry in terms of privacy of data and all of that. What do you say about it?
I know that the law enjoins the Electoral Commission to publish the voters' register on their website. There are also provisions which enjoin them to put that notification on the publication that they've made and to ensure that it is available to all. This is a tussle between transparency and privacy. During the voters' exhibition, the exhibition of the voters' register, we had countless accusations of people whose names have been deleted from the register. Now they put it out there for the whole world to check whether their names are in there or not. And there's an issue. The conversation can be about which details in the register are acceptable to be put out there.
Okay.
Not against whether or not they should put it out there. The law says they should. But how can they do it in a safe manner? Probably not in a downloadable manner. And those conversations are currently ongoing. The Data Protection Commission and the National Cybersecurity Center under my ministry are working with the Electoral Commission to ensure that the information is put out there in a safe and secure manner, which cannot be abused.
All right.
So I would urge everybody to exercise some caution. But you can't blame them. They're only obeying the law. The manner in which they're doing it may raise other issues. But when the law was being passed, that should have been factored in. It wasn't. But there are existing legislations which can help them to also manage that information. And the relevant agencies are working with them now. I believe that the information has been pulled down from their website currently. It will be put up in a better manner shortly.
All right.
So please hold your horses.
Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. And well, yeah, we have to wrap up at this point. I've been speaking to Honorable Ursula Owusu-Ekuful. She's the MP for Ablekuma West Constituency and also the Minister of Communications. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.